Okay. 1,000,001 videos today. I just finished doing my December wrap-up. So now I'm going to do my 2017 statistics. It should only take a minute. It should only take a minute, she says. Okay, so I wanted to read, I believe I set myself a goal of 60 books. Or no, my challenge was 80 books. I read 95 in my reading challenge. For some reason, the 2017 reading challenge information has all gone away. I have set my 2018, and that is ready to go. But I can't tell you how many pages I read. I can tell you I read 95 books, and that was a lot. I can also tell you that my reading goals page is kind of a mess, but let's go through it nonetheless. So, my 2017 reading goals were to read 80 books. Originally it was 50, then I moved it up to 60, then I moved it up to 80. I read 95. I also wanted to read 5 classics. I did that. I read Middlemarch, Pride and Prejudice, Jane Eyre. I read a whole ton of the Little Black classics, which were really good. I'm sure I read more at the end. I know that I am still working on War and Peace. But yeah, so I read Miss Rosie and the Priest by Giovanni Boccaccio, Ellen Foster by Kay Gibbons. No, that's not one. As Kingfishers Catch Fire by Gerard Manley Hopkins, The Saga of Gunaslag Serpent Tongue by Anonymous. So there was a whole crap ton of those. I also read My Antonia by Willa Carter. So 5 classics, totally banged that out of the water. Finished the Wheel of Time series. I didn't even read, I finished the Wheel of Time series book I was reading at the end of 2016 in 2017, and I didn't start book 6. So totally bunked that one out. Read half of the books Porter challenged me to read. See list. I made a list. There were 73 books, and I did 33, which I believe it was like 32 point something, so 33 was half, so I was good with that. Keep track of my reading, which I did, both in YouTube, on Goodreads, and in my book. And then the 6th one, which I added, was the Husband's Book Club, and we ended up reading the Farseer trilogy together. We did not make it to Stranger in a Strange Land, The Left Hand of Darkness, or the Lightbringer series, but we can do that this year. As far as diversity goes, I didn't read a lot of things that were diverse. Out of all the books, I read 26 diverse books. So 26 out of 95 isn't exactly a lot of diversity, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to read a bunch of books I don't want to read. Just because someone diversely wrote them. My fiction was more than my nonfiction. I read 25 nonfiction out of the 95 books. And then for the gender spread, there was, of females, there was a lot more. I read 40, 50, 52 females, 1 trans person, and then the rest were male. So 52 out of 95 is bigger than half. So I would say that's a really good starting number. So for myself, I set up my 2018 reading goals, which I put in my reading book. I made this book for the purpose of it. Oh, also, for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, I completed all but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 of the challenges I didn't complete. The rest I did, which made me feel really good. I might do this year's reading challenge. I did the previous year as well, and didn't do quite as good. But so I will be taping this into this book. I might do the Book Riot Read Harder challenge this year. I don't know. Depends. My friend Lily usually tries to do it with me, so if we do it together, then we do it together. So for my 2018, I wrote down all my books in my TBR, which is like an asinine amount. So, reading goals I have for 2018. Read one book over 500 pages a month with a total of 12, with tick boxes because I was feeling frisky. So basically, I'm lowering the amount of books I want to read because I've noticed that I've been reading the smaller ones so I can pick them off and have a higher number, which Portal to the Pages or Through the Pages had discussed. So I lowered my reading goal down to 52, one a week, and I want to read at least one 500 plus page book a month. I have a lot of them that I really want to read that are very interesting to me, and I just need the motivation to pick those up, so I'm hoping that's it. Then number 2, I'm keeping it from last year, is read 5 classics. I've got a shit ton of classics I want to get to, so it really shouldn't be a problem. And quite frankly, once I'm done War and Peace, that's going to be a big check off of both of those boxes, because that one's 1,400 pages on the one I have. I am almost at the last book. I think I'm at 1,000 pages now, so I have 400 more to go. Number 3 is to read half of my books off my TBR from 2017. So the 2017 TBR, there's no way I'm going to make this, but hey, we can pretend, right? Because there's 268 books on this list. 268, so a half is 134. I'm setting myself the goal of 52, and here I say read half, which is 134, and this year I did 95. So I don't really know where that's going to skew out, but hey, we could pretend. I also count DNFs, or ones that I start and I'm like, heck no, I'm not reading this whole thing. Those also count, so they do actually increase the number, which could be how we work. And then number 4, rather than finish the Wheel of Time series, I have limited myself down to just read 3 books from the Wheel of Time series. I'm sure once I get back into them, it'll feel better, but again, it's this desire to produce for the channel now, is I want to read more small books, because a Wheel of Time book could take me longer, and then I'm not going to read as many books. You see where I'm going? I have to take that off of myself and say, you know what, if I read 2 books or 3 books in a month, that's fine, no one's going to care. So, there you go. 5 is to keep track of reading, both on Goodreads and in my book. 6 is the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge, so I guess I told myself I was doing it before I even thought about it. And 7 is the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge, because I like challenging myself, and when I have, like, some people don't like challenges, but I can go either way. Sometimes it's too much pressure and sometimes it's not enough, but in this case, when I say the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge and the Book Riot Read Harder Challenge, I can look at those and then pick a book based off of those, because what I find is I get this paralysis of there's too many choices, and I can kind of narrow it down, and sometimes I can flip a coin, sometimes I can eeny meeny miny moe my way out of it, and sometimes I can just say to my husband, pick a number between 1 and whatever, and that's the book I read. But with these 2 challenges, if I'm sitting there by myself and I can't figure something out, I can pick a challenge and go after that, and I find that has been really helpful this year for me for picking books, so I'm going to keep that up. Then I have male-female authors, LGBT plus authors, and then fiction and nonfiction. I'm taking diversity out of it because I really don't give a crap. And I really think that I do read diversely for myself, because I do not have the perspective of an old white dude. So, and I don't read a lot of old white dudes. I read a lot of white women, and I read a lot of women of color, and I read a lot of history. So generally, those are not things that indicate themselves to being diverse. If I read a history about someone, it doesn't matter. It's not diverse, right? So I'm taking diversity and own voices out of this because I'm just not a fan. But I do care about making sure I read a spectrum of authors, like male, female, etc. And that's just because, I'm a woman, and I want to read women, and I want to make sure I'm reading women, and sometimes that's not as easy as it looks. Fiction and nonfiction, I'd like to bump up my nonfiction this year. I used to read a lot more nonfiction, and I find myself driven more towards fiction because of the habits of BookTube. So I'd like to get my nonfiction plowed out. I have a bunch of books that I really, really want to get to, so that is a goal for me for the coming year. And like I said, I've got 268 books on my TBR, and I'm going to be instigating, I had this when I lived in Canada, but I'm reestablishing it, which is going to be the 5 out, 1 in rule. So I have to read 5 books before another one can come in, just because at this point it's getting ridiculous, and I just want to start saving some money for other things, not necessarily books. The only exceptions will be during library book sales when they're dirt cheap and plentiful. But aside from that, I'm going to try and rein it in. I was watching Beyond the Pages, I think, said that she is going to be more critical of herself. And it's not that I'm going to be like, no, you can't have that book ever. But am I buying it now because I want to read it now, or am I buying it to go in the TBR pile? Because if I'm buying it to go in the TBR pile and it's not like at the library book sale used for 50 cents, I can buy it later. It's going to show up later. Or if I take books to the used bookstore and I have credit, that's different. If it's a birthday present, or if it's a present in general, it's different. But that is going to be my theory going forward for this year, is just to buy less books, because I bought a crap ton and I need to read them. And yeah, I'm going to be a little more vigilant about the book of the month too, because I'm horrible. I'm horrible with it. I just keep getting them, and you know, I think there's some months I could skip, and I just don't let myself. So I think I will start skipping more months of the Book of the Month Club when there's nothing that piques my fancy. This month there was, and I ended up getting 3. But like, if there's nothing, then I'm not going to be like, oh, I'll just pick the least one. So that was 2017 wrap-up, and 2018 going forward. I did post the best books of 2017. I'm not going to do the worst. I know everybody loves doing the worst, but then I have to relive that, and I don't want to. So, yes, I will see everybody in next month. I'm going to do a haul video, and that's about it. Bye!